about doing this kind of a live streaming type workshop for a number of years, and I suppose the beauty of the initiative that the Big V has of putting your stuff up online after each game has coincided nicely with the ability to actually start to do things that we do here, live stream, and of course Ringwood has jumped on board last year. Diamond Valley is starting this year, so increasingly there's quite a number of clubs that are starting to do it. So what we thought we'd do is put together a little presentation. It's sort of two parts. What we're going to do is, my name's Andrew, by the way, for those that don't know, and I've been hanging around Waverley for now the last 16 years, is that I'll run through all the stuff that basically you need to put together to be able to live stream along the way. And then after that, I'll hand over to Lucas, and what Lucas will do is he'll pick up from when you've got all of the content onto your PC, what do you do then? What do you do with it? Which is really the uploading it to YouTube and how you plug it into the Big V 2016 channels and so on. So, as I said, my name's Andrew. This is Lucas from I can never get it right. CVAO?
Yep, that's it.
Or Aussie Basketball Travellers, or there's a whole heap of other things that he's associated with. So, and he's of course one of the sponsors this year of the Big V, and his stuff there. Just before we start, I thought it'd be really nice if we sort of got a bit of a background on us. We'll just look at the agenda, really, I suppose. We'll actually go through and do all of those sort of things. Talk about. I want to talk about how you consider video. The great thing about IT, and video is really just another form of IT, is that everything is a chain. There's a logical chain. And so you always think about starting with acquisition, acquiring the actual image itself. You then start thinking about how you take that image and get it from your camera onto the computer itself. And along the way, you've got to think about sound. So this is a really important thing. I mean, audio is not important, is it? Well, maybe it is. So we think about that. Then we have to actually take the footage that comes off your camera, and somehow we've got to put it into a format, into a form that is capable of being uploaded into YouTube. And then we've got to publish that information along the way. So really, if you think of it as an end-to-end sequence, and also you also got to think about, well, once it's up to where you want to go, it's now got to be downloaded by somebody else as well. So there's another chain that happens after we send it up into that big cloud thing called the internet. Once we get it up there, then we just bring it back down again, and we start to think about, well, how are people actually viewing it, and on what devices they're viewing it, and all those sorts of things. So that's the basic way we go there. So this is the agenda that we've got. I hope that's okay with you. So a little bit about Lucas. Go on, you can tell them all about yourself, Lucas. We're doing this to record.
No, so my name's Lucas, as we mentioned before. I actually come from a coaching background. What got me into the video side of stuff, so I've spent 4 years as an assistant coach with Country Vic state teams. I started when I was 19 with that, so straight away I was like, well, you're the young dude, you're doing the video. So I've been working with that since, and then it got to a point with that I was looking into other avenues and other ways to do it, because it can be quite expensive if you're getting external sources to do it. It can be very expensive if you're doing it yourself as well. And there was just nothing in Australia. It was all overseas. It all was annual packages and stuff like that, which is how I got into this stuff. As it says up there, so I've had 4 years assistant. This will be my first year as head coach with a state team. I'll still be doing the video with that, but trying to help the assistants work their way through it. 2 years Big V state champion assistant coach, and again I've been in charge of the video review and the video scout with that stuff. 2 years as Big V D1 head coach. We didn't use video review with that, and whether it was a consequence or whether it was just coincidence, we didn't make finals either of those years. I've held employment within basketball, so I understand each viewpoint of basketball. Like, I've obviously coached, I've played, I've been a referee, I've been a team manager, I've held employment within basketball, I've been on committees. Like, I've had each viewpoint, so I understand challenges that different people in this room will face and different clubs will face. I've also previously spent time as a teacher, personal trainer, marketing manager, barman, labourer, retail work. So again, a wide range of experiences, all of which have helped me get to where I am now. So that's a bit about me and where I've come from with this. We'll talk more about the actual concept and idea behind custom video analysis later. But that's basically me in a nutshell, how I got to here, why I am here, and what we're going to do with, or what we're planning to do over the next couple of years with Big V.
Cool. And my background is that I'm actually a music and drama, media and drama teacher. So I trained at a place called Rusden, which is now a block of flats. It's now part of Deakin University and all that sort of stuff. Way back in the 1970s. And so basically since then I've been involved in media and drama around the place. So I've been using technology like this sort of stuff for years. In terms of Waverley, I've been the venue manager here, game commissioner, whatever you want to call it, since about 2003. And so I've suffered through all the same things that most of you guys have, of having to, record your videos, put it onto VHS. Do you remember those days? Dub the VHS tapes off when every coach said they wanted one, and spending all that time. Then progressing from there and saying, okay, let's do it onto a PVR, so record it onto it and burn DVDs, and then having to spend 8 or 9 hours burning DVDs every week, particularly, when you get a lot of guys. So I went, there has to be a better way. And about 4 or 5 years it became possible, because the technology had changed enough for us to go directly onto a computer and get a good quality result. And I said at the same time, well, hey, if we're doing that, why don't we also put it up on the internet? And luckily, I got the buy-in from the coaches and from the association here, and that's what we've been doing. So we've now streamed, if I looked at my YouTube channel the other day, I've got close on 300 videos, and that doesn't include the first year's content as well. So something like about 400 games that we've actually streamed from here, and now it's sort of going out a little bit further and so on. One of the beauties of doing it is that it gives your kids, the junior teams that come in to do stuff, it gives them jobs. That was one of the other issues that we had, trying to get the kids who came in to do the floor sweeping something to do so they didn't lose focus and so on. Now you can give them a job. You can say, hey, be on camera. Do the camera stuff, and it's live to the internet, and suddenly they go, oh, and they focus, they concentrate. And then if you've got the ability to actually get them talking as well, you can get them doing commentary and so on. So it gives a whole range of other activities that we can extend the involvement of kids, the younger kids, into these games as well. So it's a really useful thing. So that's basically my background. Now you'll see around the room that I've put a whole heap of stuff around. Please get up, play, look, hands-on. Go and try things as well a little bit later and ask questions about them and so on. So I've tried to put stuff out to show you all the things that we've got here. Now, in terms of, as I said, it's a chain. Everything is a chain. The very first thing we have to do is to start thinking about recording the games themselves. One of the requirements that the league has now for YouTube and the Lucas's program is that all the games that we produce have got to be produced in what's called high def. Now, an easy way to think about what high def is all about is to think back to the old CRT televisions, the old-fashioned TVs that you had at home, right? Okay? They are all standard definition systems, yeah? Whereas your flat-screen TVs, which you'll see on the little corner when you turn them on or you change channels, broadcast in 720p, or look at 720p, 720i or 180p, they're high definition. So what we're being asked to produce is we're all being asked to produce television quality, broadcast quality pictures, which means that you need to start thinking about the cameras that you're actually using, because a lot of us don't have modern cameras that we're using. We may have had a camera that we picked up second hand, or we've had it in the back of the cupboard for about 10 years and we're still using those things. Unfortunately, they won't cut it anymore. For a start, what they'll do is that they'll often be 4:3, In other words, they'll be a sort of a small rectangle as opposed to being a widescreen format. So we need a camera that is, technically they call it 16:9, it's widescreen, yeah? So we need that sort of stuff. So what kind of cameras can you start looking at? Well, if we start thinking about, that, we can start with a webcam. So that's something like this thing here that I've got. All right, there's a couple of different brands. Microsoft and Logitech are the two most common ones that you'll get around the place, and they're not very expensive. I think you can pick those ones up for about $90 or something else like that. Now, those cameras there are fine if you're about this distance away. They're great. They'll actually give you quite a good picture, quite clean picture, you know, of a court. But like an iPad or like your phone, they're fixed lenses, so you can't zoom in, you can't do anything else like that. Also, they're not really well suited to fast motion stuff. And basketball is nothing but fast motion. So we need something which can actually cater for it. But they're quite a useful device. One of the things that I use a webcam for is I turn it around the other way. If I've got commentators, and you'll see this if anyone saw the games we broadcast from Cryo Bay, or even Ringwood, I'll turn the webcam around on the commentators. And that's quite a useful camera because it's quite a wide camera and does things like that. The next kind of camera that I got asked, and I got asked about this the other day, can I use a DSLR, one of these cameras? And we had a big discussion at Dandenong about it. So some of you may have bought those kind of cameras. They're great cameras for still photographs. Unfortunately, they are not designed for continuous operation. They overheat. Also, the lenses don't zoom. Okay, you can get zoom lenses for them, but those lenses are like $3,500. So any advantage you have of having a DSLR goes out the window when you start looking at the lenses you need to put with them. But they are fantastic. So what do we use instead? Well, the preferred option is the camcorder. Things like the one that's in front of me at the moment, the ones that you see around the room. And they range in all sorts of prices there. So the best place to go and look for a camcorder is actually on eBay. Because what you'll do is you'll pick up a camera that may have retailed at somewhere around $1,200. You may pick it up for about $300 or $400 along the way. And in fact, that's where I've got all my gear. I've actually spent time. And by the way, when you're using eBay, be very patient with it. You know, it might take you 3 or 4 months to get the deal that you actually want. You don't just go and keep bidding and keep bidding. Know what your budget is, know what you're prepared to pay, and be very strict on yourself. Don't go over that budget. But basically the cameras operate in a couple of different, I suppose, ranges. You have the consumer cameras. So again, the one in front of us at the moment, the Sony there, or that little Canon over the side there, are regarded as consumer cameras. Now they're high-end consumer cameras, but they still give you a really good picture. The disadvantage of them is that when you go to zoom, you've got a tiny little zoom control on there, so it's a lot harder to do it. But you'll still get a good quality picture out of those cameras as well. Now, the thing that you look for on the camera is that it's got an HDMI out connection, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. All right, because if it doesn't have HDMI or something called component, you won't be able to get a high definition feed out of it. You won't get an HDMI feed, HD feed. The second type of camera you can get is the high-end prosumer camera. That's an example there. I didn't actually bring one of those along today, but you'll find that you'll pick them up again on eBay secondhand, probably around the $800 to $1,200 mark, right? And they're actually quite useful because one of the things that's good about those is that you'll often get them with XLR connections for microphones directly into the camera as well. This one down here just has a little 3.5mm jack, which if you're trying to put audio into it is okay, but you run the risk of damaging the jack or damaging the socket as well. So sometimes an XLR connector, an XLR is this kind of connector here. All right. So an XLR is a much more sturdy connector and it won't do as much damage. And you've probably got those on the microphones that you have at the stadium and so on. The final type of camera that you can look at are these ones. And that's only if you really want to spend a lot of money. Okay? Because they're the broadcast quality. They're actually ones that television stations. It's called an ENG camera, electronic news gathering camera, and they're the sort of things that you'll find that the ABC and that Channel 10 and Channel 9 and so on will use. The real advantage of those particular cameras is the lens, the sensor inside, the electronics inside and the lens. It gives you an incredibly sharp picture, and so on. So if you looked at any of the video that came out of the stadium, out of the Dandenong tournament, the first week, that was all shot using those cameras, and it's pretty crystal clear along the way, even though it's only 720p. So that gives you the stuff. So they're the sort of cameras that you need to look for. But as I said, you don't have to spend a lot of money. Go on eBay, be patient, and you'll pick something up for around the $200, $300, $400 mark quite happily. Yeah.
Let's ask a question.
Yep.
Given that the first round starts on Sunday,
yep.
we don't have that luxury.
Yep.
So can you recommend some models that we could potentially buy that would be suitable?
Yeah, you're talking about new or second hand?
Well, I think we don't have a choice other than new, do we? Or it would be a bit hard to find something within a few days, obviously.
Yeah, look, really, you can go to any of the modern cameras.
So just a 720p or a...
Yeah, you make certain that it will output in 720p or 180p.
Aren't we compressing it anyway?
Yep. But you still need to look for that. It needs to capture it in that detail. Yep. Okay, you're compressing it down, but you the file that you end up with is still going to be a 720 or 180p file. Yeah.
I'm not trying to be controversial, but last season I thought we were using iPads, and
yeah.
I even use this, which is really good. But is that the best option?
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. You can use those things. The difficulty you have with them is, again, they are fixed lenses, so you can't actually zoom in or do anything else like that. So, for the purposes of the league and being able to produce media clips and highlight reels and so on, what you're going to do is have lots of little stick ants running around on the court. Essentially, you can't get in close enough on it. So certainly it's okay, but like the webcam, it has some restrictions there. The quality that comes out of the iPad, I must admit, is actually quite good. It's actually quite good. But understand, they're not designed as a high-end camera. They're not designed as a high-end. Yeah, I mean, short-term solution. It's a good solution, but you can't do it.
What is the actual purpose of the videos that we're creating? Because it used to be when requested, we had to send one into the league if they had some sort of query about a call or repping or whatever. That's what the purpose.
Yeah. So
talking about seems to be a lot more.
Yeah. So from what I understand, and again, one of the things we're not going to do tonight, because we're not anything to do with the league other than being like you workers, is we're not going to get into a debate about whether it's a good idea or not a good idea to do this. It's happening. We've got to deal with it. But from what I understand about the requirement is that there's no difference from what we used to have to do before. Okay, Seabrook does it. Seabrook for the last 3 years, 4 years has had a requirement that after every game they upload the full game tape. So all that's happening is that we're now coming into line with what Seabrook has been doing for a while anyway. Now, yes, it's there so that we can have a record if we need it in a tribunal, but it's also there so that we can take advantage of the fact that we've got that footage there for all sorts of things, whether it's end-of-year presentations, whether it's scouting purposes, any of those sort of things. Yeah.
But if you zoom in, you possibly miss some of the action that might be there.
You can. So that's where you've got to learn. That's where as you train your camera people to know what you zoom in on and what you don't zoom in on and so on. So you use all those things. And I get around it because I use multiple cameras. I don't just use one camera. I use up to 5 or 6 cameras at times. So we do all of that. So having acquired the image, having actually got a camera, you now somehow need to get it off the camera onto your computer. There are two ways to do that. The first way is to simply just record it and then afterwards transfer it via an SD card or whatever you record onto, or using a USB cable, most of them use USB now, onto your computer as well. The problem with that is, as Brian has found out, is that your cameras do not record a single file. What they do is they chunk it down into very small bits. And that's usually about, what, 4 meg yours came to? Yeah, so they chunk it down. So you have if you're playing it back on your camera, it looks like it's one file. But it actually isn't. It's a whole heap.
So that's Canons that do that?
No, it's Panasonics, it's Sony's, it's all of them. That's how they all do it. A lot of them do it. 2 files, yeah.
3.5 gig.
Yeah.
My JVC gives me 1 file for as long as I hold the record button.
I think it does change depending on what resolution you're filming in as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Brian's was cutting out 4 gigabytes. Yeah. Ones I've used before have cut out like 2.5 gigabytes.
Yeah.
Sometimes just it changes.
It-
you might get 4 or 5 from the game.
If you want to get really technical, it has to do with what's called FAT32
It's back on that.
and how big the files can be under a 32-bit operating system, which is usually 3 to 4 gig. It's not much more than that. But anyway, that's way too technical for what we need. The thing is that we have to get the files off the camera onto a computer at some stage. So you have a number, as I said, you can do it using the SD cards, or you could do it as a normal transfer. Or what you can do is you can use what's called a capture card. And that means what you're going to do is come out of the HDMI port of your camera onto a device. And there's a number of different devices that we can use. So these are the ones that you don't look for. And that's important to know, that there are some devices that you should not be looking for. These are all USB devices, and they work perfectly well for standard definition. And they can be as cheap as $6. So the one at the top there, which is a clone, a Chinese clone of something called an Easy Cap. You'll pick it up for about $6 on eBay, and that's great. It's great. Problem with that is, A, standard definition, and B, no Windows 10 or Windows 8 drivers. So you really have a problem with a modern operating system on them. You can find it, but you run all sorts of hassles and so on. Then there are some other devices which are floating around, and I've got these things. So the example down there is an AVerMedia product called a Live Gamer Portable. So a lot of your kids will probably have that to record their games. They go and play whatever game it is on the computer, and they can record themselves, add commentary and so on. It works great. It works really well, except that it's USB 2. So it has an HDMI port and all of that. And that means there's quite a lot of latency in it. So you can get away with it. If you've got one of these things at home, you can get away with it, as long as you realise that what it's going to do is bring the image about 3 or 4 seconds late into your computer. And if that's important to you, you don't go there. But you could use it. You could use it. You need some software to go with it as well that comes with it. These are the devices, however, that you probably want to look for. So the first one there is the one that I would recommend you look at. It's called an AVerMedia, and again by AVerMedia, Extreme Cap U3. It's about $215, I think it was. Is that what you picked it up for at CPL, Computer Parts Land? And that's probably about the most cost-effective device if you're going onto a normal Windows laptop at the moment. Okay, it's a USB device, so I suppose you could go into a Mac as well. It works. It's got Mac drivers. It's got Mac drivers as well, so it would work on that one as well. Then you have something which is a fairly new card that's come out called the Magewell card. Difficult to get in Australia and expensive. It's about $600 landed. Okay, and then another one that you'll see a lot of people will recommend to you, and I suggest you probably give it a wide berth, not because it's bad tech, but because it's really, really picky about the USB hardware that's in your computer and the resolutions. And it's called a Blackmagic Shuttle. It's a really good device, but there's all sorts of issues with it. So if somebody says, I've got a Blackmagic shuttle, here you can use that, you can buy that off us, and perhaps you might want to say, prove to me that it works first. Prove to me that it'll actually go onto my computer. It's great tech, it's really good tech. Blackmagic, by the way, Blackmagic Design, an Australian company down in Port Melbourne, so they're a good company. Then, if you've got, so the box I've got down under the table there is a normal computer. If you use a normal computer and not a laptop, then what you can do there is you can actually install some capture cards in your PC itself. And these capture cards you can spend as little as about $125, and then you can go up to literally thousands of dollars on it. All right, so when you're looking at that, the rule of thumb, I suppose, is that they typically charge you about $150 per input. So in that box there, I've got 2 cards, both of which have got 4 inputs. Okay, so I can bring eight things in there at the moment. Each one of those cards is about $800–900 each. Okay, so that sort of gives you a feel for that. Then the next kind of input that you look for are things like these devices here. Okay, so this is stepping up the professional ranks again. This is the Teradek Cube. It allows you to actually bring the image. It's got an HDMI connection at the front there, and then I can actually go out. I can do all sorts of things with this, but I can go out straight onto a computer, and it's wireless, so I can take it wirelessly onto the computer. And I was using that at Dandenong as well. Unfortunately, they're around $3,000 just for that little box. Okay, so it's probably not something that you guys are going to look at. So there are solutions out there that will allow you to get up to that kind of price, but it's probably not the sort of stuff that you're going to look for. There is a new technology, however, that is really it's a groundbreaking technology. It's called Thunderbolt, and it's another connector that's starting to appear in different computers and laptops as well. And the beauty of that is that it allows you to transfer large amounts of data very, very quickly. In fact, the latest version of Thunderbolt, which is called Thunderbolt 3, allows you to transfer 40 megabits per second across the bus. So that's really a lot of data. And what you'll find is in a lot of the MacBooks, a lot of the Mac products, that's actually in there as well, but increasingly there are now lots of Windows-based PCs that also have Thunderbolt ports in there. So that little laptop I've got over there, the Lenovo one there, has got a Thunderbolt port. My PC over here has got 2 Thunderbolt ports on it as well, so you can do all of those things. You've just bought a laptop with Thunderbolt on it as well, and that was what, $1,500? Yeah. So it's not all that expensive to buy this new tech along the way, all right, even though you may not have it at the moment. Then what you do is that you use little devices. You can put devices on there as well. And so this is the mini recorder, Thunderbolt mini recorder. You'll see quite a lot of the guys that use Macs will actually go out and buy this. The beauty of this one, again, around $215, so it's relatively inexpensive. Now, I know you're saying, okay, well, this is all a lot of money. But how much time do you spend transferring files and creating DVDs and all of those sorts of things? The moment you start doing all of that sort of stuff and you factor in your time, all of a sudden $200 is easy to justify spending. So, you know, you think about the eventual cost or the eventual benefit that you'll actually get out of it, and you'll suddenly start to realise that it does actually help you. So, now we've got to connect all these things. Yeah.
Just one on the
Yeah.
Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
Can you get Thunderbolt to USB 3?
Yes, you can, sort of. It's been announced.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. Let me rephrase that. You need to get a laptop that has a USB 3 port that is also a Thunderbolt port. You've got to be very careful about watching it. Some of them, it's exactly the same connector. Exactly the same connector. The other thing that you also need is, because a lot of the devices are Thunderbolt 2, you also need a Thunderbolt 2 to Thunderbolt 3 adapter as well. And that's the thing that's only just being launched later this month. Okay, so the other thing that you need to do is start thinking about cables as well. So there's loads of different cable types. The ones that we are interested in are these ones. All right? If you're using this kind of a cable for your camera, that's a standard definition cable. Or if you're using the one on the right, this one here, that's SVHS, and so on. So we need to use that, or we need to use that, or if you're really, really lucky and you've got a more professional camera, you can use this kind of cable, which is called an SDI cable. Yeah? At the moment, there aren't too many cameras that will actually allow you to take your images directly onto over the Ethernet and over your blue cables. There are some. You can now start to get some PTZ cameras, you know, like the security cameras and so on, and they'll actually allow you to do it as well. Again, you've got to be very careful with those, and the price is relatively high as well. So be careful about your cables, but you've got to think about connecting the camera up to your device and so on. So you'll need to buy some cables. And then you need the sound. So you can simply just bring the sound in from the microphone. Oh, sorry, shouldn't have done that. Cover it all up. From the microphone from the camera there. The problem with that is, if you want sound, is it's really hard to get your commentators on there. So you've jury-rigged a little system that allows you to do it, but it's perhaps not as robust as you want in the future.
Perhaps the other thing to consider is the issue we have, and why I usually remove sound, is because it's in amongst the crowd, and some of it is inappropriate.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good point. So again, the thing is that once we lump it up onto YouTube, the problem that we have with YouTube is that YouTube wants to process, does a copyright check. So you'll notice if you go and look at some of the videos from the weekend, there's no sound on it, and a little thing comes up and says, audio muted due to copyright breach. Yeah? So you've got to be very careful with the sound that you bring in. So this is where using a mixer, something like this, is really useful, and if you can afford it, closed-in headsets like this. Now, increasingly, people are using these for the stats guys. You've got a system for the stats guys. But this is really good for the commentator. If you're going to get kids commentating, these are really good too, because A, they can hear what they're saying, but it also cuts out a lot of that crowd noise that you're talking about as well, because they're close mic'd. The microphones are up close to their body, So you start thinking about all the sound stuff. So you need a mixer, and they can be very small mixers like that. They can get really large, and again, they don't have to be particularly expensive. And you've probably got some. So I know that Southern Pen, for instance, they've already got a larger version of this one here that they use to run their normal sound, and you can actually double. If you're very clever with it, you can run sound out to your PA, then you can run different sound to your cameras. So you can do all sorts of things like that. In terms of microphones, you want to look for dynamic microphones, not condenser microphones. The condenser microphones are typically the ones that have a battery inside, and the problem is they pick up too much sound. Dynamic microphones are the ones that the rock and roll singers use. And the beauty of those is as you rattle them, they don't pick up a lot of sound on the body, and anything that happens behind here, they tend to deaden. So they're very directional this way. They tend to pick up there along the way. So they're quite a useful thing to do. And then, of course, you could get really expensive, and you could go and buy this kind of a device here, these wireless mics and all that sort of stuff, if you really wanted to. All right, but you don't have to do all of that. Yeah.
Can I just ask, how do clubs handle the logistics of an announcer and videographer? Because what we do is we've got opposite the benches where the person sits with the video camera, but the announcers actually sit next to the score bench on the other side of the court.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do here is we have if you look over there, you can see that we actually have a media box. So we have our commentary team up there. When I go on the road and I do away games, so I go to Ringwood, I actually will take the gear and a little table. We set up tables and we have the commentators again on the opposite side there, so away. And again, if you look at the NBL games and so on, you look at where all those things. Usually the media teams are on the opposite side of the court from the guys. So we normally set it up elsewhere. Sometimes behind the stats box, sometimes we go behind. So down at Corio Bay and on the volleyball court at Dandenong, we actually set up behind the stats guys. It's all going to depend on the venue you've got and what space you've got and so on.
They were required to be opposite the bench with the video. You're supposed to zoom in on the bench at the start of the game and zoom in at the opposing bench.
Yeah, but you can't always do that. So again, it's about being able to look at the venue itself, and you've got to choose the place that you can best put your cameras.
Is the commentary important on the
It depends what you want to do. I think it is. Personally, I think it is because I'm interested in producing a product that I want people to go and watch and do things like that. And I want to involve the kids. I want to have people there doing stuff and build a team. So for me, it's important. For you, it may be perfectly okay just to have a soundless stuff. But it's really good when you get a... Last night we had a lady come up with a mobile phone saying, "Can you do a shout out to my kids up in Darwin, please?" And she gave us the name, so that was really good. We've had people in New Zealand who have been, because we gave them a shout out, they thought it was great too. So again, it depends on your club and what you want to do with it. So once it gets onto the computer, you then have to start saying, okay, now we're taking the signal from the camera and converting it into a signal that the computer will actually understand. To do that, you actually need some software to process everything. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that. If you're just taking the video off your camera with an SD card and so on, you can put it into video editing programs like Movie Maker. Movie Maker works perfectly well. Or you could use Final Cut Pro, Premiere, Sony Vegas. There's all sorts of things like that. But the computer that you have is actually a really important thing because the video is very, very large. The data is large. We're talking about a typical game. Typical game might be 6 to 14 gigabytes. Now, if you think of that in DVDs, a DVD is 4 gigabytes, 4 gig. So a typical game that you'll record can be 4 DVDs before you process it. So one of the things that you need to do is you need to have a computer that's powerful enough to handle that and to be able to process it and crunch it down into something smaller or do whatever you need. Sorry to say, your old laptop is probably not going to cut it into the future. You may get away with it for a while, but you really need to look at the new generation i7s, which are the processors that are inside the Macs and inside most Windows machines nowadays. Okay, again, that's what you've picked up as a brand new one of those, and again, you can get those relatively inexpensive if you shop around and you're very, very careful with it. But you're probably talking about needing to spend about $1,200 to $1,500 to get a reasonable PC. So these are the sorts of things that you can do. You can go down to, an i3 or an i5. Well, to give you an example, I was using an i7 machine to compress the games from the weekend. Mind you, I was compressing 8 games in a go, and it took 8 hours, 7 hours to compress all of those, so about an hour per game. And that's on a really fast machine,
Just while pivot,
Yeah.
I've got an i5 processor running, I just upgraded Windows 10.
Yeah.
I tried to use Movie Maker and said it was no longer supported.
Yeah.
It's a separate download.
Yes.
So I downloaded it and tried it, cracked it sort of.
Yeah.
So
Windows
you
10
just be careful
sucks.
because I think a lot of people
Windows
will
10
be
sucks.
using as a basis Movie Maker.
Yeah. So
Option, but under Windows
Yeah, I'd keep trying it as they roll out upgrades and so on. Windows 10 has some real advantages because it handles video much better, and it uses the CPU more effectively, but some of the older software doesn't necessarily work. So I would suggest that, again, technical tip, go and try and run it in compatibility mode for Windows 7. It may work, it may not work. All right, so if you do that. So these are the sorts of requirements that you actually need along the way. So I would recommend that you look for an i7 processor and one with a separate graphics card. So whether that's a laptop or whether it's a desktop PC, that's the sort of stuff that you actually need. And so the kind of stuff that you can get is, and this is the one I think you got, wasn't it, Kim? Did you bring it with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can have a look at this, a brand new one that Diamond Valley's just purchased. That's a 17-inch screen. So that one over there is a 13-inch, so it gives you an idea. So they'll have plenty of real estate to use. So that's the kind of stuff you can do. And that's a pretty good price on that one at the moment. So you'll find them around that kind of price along the way. But then what do we run on it? Well, we have to run some software. There are basically 3 options. There are a few others, but I'd suggest there are 3 options that we could look at. There's these are products are called vision mixers or vision switches. So you see, I've got vMix at the moment running on that PC over there, and you can see there that it's actually got 2 cameras running into it, and we can switch it. And my trusty sidekick over here, Michelle, can actually get up and demonstrate it to you along the way, if you want to see that later on. That's an Australian product. It has the advantage. The advantage is that it's actually really quite cheap and it works brilliantly. And the beauty is that if you can capture the video into that, that'll do the recording for you as well and produce one file. In fact, if you set it up properly, you don't even have to compress, because you can record it to a file size that actually is the right size anyway to upload. So that starts at a basic level at about $84, $85, depending on where the US dollar is, Australian dollar is against the US dollar at any point in time. And then it goes up the way. If you want to set it up, you can actually go and buy a system that will allow you to do independent replays. You know, like they do on all the sports channels and the telly and so on. You can actually have 4 cameras going in there and 4 separate replays, and you can switch angles. And that's about $1,200 to get to do that. All right, so it ranges in all of that. There's another product, this time out of Holland, called VidBlaster, which is, again, really easy to use. I used it for about 2 or 3 years, and I still use it. The disadvantage with VidBlaster, it's like the learning curve is really quick. I can get someone using it within about 15 minutes. The difficulty with it is that it uses a lot of CPU. So you do need to have a very powerful computer to use it along the way. It doesn't use the resources on the computer as efficiently. There's a new version coming out soon, which we hope is going to be more efficient. However, the advantage of that particular product is that it's a subscription base. You can buy a subscription base, which is $99 US a year. So that's actually not all that expensive if you look at it over the course of a year. But again, like vMix, you can record everything down onto it. You don't have to compress files and so on. You can do it however you want to. The final product is the one that you'll find a lot of people with Macs will tell you is the best program, and that's called Wirecast. Great program, available on both Mac and Windows, and it's the only one that is. Unfortunately, though, it's worth it's in US dollars is about $500. So Australian dollars, that's nearly close to $700. A little bit less today because the dollar has gone up, but it's around the $650, $700 mark. All right, for the basic version. And then if you want to do scoreboards, so some of you may have seen the scoreboards that I put over the stuff there. If you want to do scoreboards in Wirecast, you have to go to their top thing, which is about 1,200 Australian. So about that, $1,300 Australian. So it has some advantages. I find it the most complicated to use But people who get used to using it think it's fantastic, and once you set it up, it's really good. It's really good. So there are all of those. So let's have I'll just give you a quick look at a couple of those. So here's so this is vMix, and you can see somebody wave. There you go. That's live. Right. So you can see that's what's going on, and now I can go and do things like put a score on there. So you can see the scores are there. I can actually go and adjust the scores, and we can do that live. So that's a nice little touch we can do there. Of course, you can do things like we can have a camera on the scoreboard. That's one of the things that actually you have a requirement for your stuff, is that you want to see the scores all the way through, don't you?
It's not
where possible.
It's advice, just because it helps with coaches on the review.
Yeah, so if we can actually see where the score is along the way, that's really useful. So the idea of doing that. You can see that what I've got there at the moment is I've got a stack shot. I've got two cameras, the webcam and the other camera going on there. And now, but what I can do is I can simply just go and do all sorts of fancy things, and do all this sort of stuff, and we can actually swap between all the cameras as well. So it's a really nice little thing. So that's what vMix looks like. Now the other cameras, the other ones, I'm not going to open them up with the camera shot, because unlike audio, the programs grab the video and you can only show it in one at a time. But what I'll do is I'll open up the interface to the others so that you can sort of get a feel for it. It won't show the pictures. So VidBlaster looks something like this when it comes up. So there's VidBlaster. Oops. One more screen over. So that's VidBlaster. It looks slightly different. And what you can see on that little graph there is telling me how much CPU is being used. And again, the way that you actually switch all of these things here is you simply just click on the icon there, and that allows you to choose the shots that you want to actually use along the way. Wirecast, a little bit different to that. Has anybody used Adobe Photoshop? So you'll know that Photoshop and those graphics programs work in layers. Okay, so they have a first layer, second layer, and depending on where you position the layer, you see different things. So Wirecast actually works in that way, and it looks something like this. And so what you would do is you would go on, you would choose the shot that you want to put in there. I'll choose one. It won't have an image in there, but I'm going to go and choose one that will appear to do stuff there. And then I can go and put another piece over the top of it as well. So you actually have to position all of your shots, and you've got to do a whole heap of different things. But then you can start to bring in what are called lower thirds, the stuff across the bottom of the screen. You can bring in scores, you can do all sorts of stuff as well. Each one of the programs will allow you to capture stuff from other computers too. So that's one of the things that you do, isn't it? You actually capture the scoreboard from another computer along the way. So that's a really handy thing as well. Don't do what they do at Dandenong. They actually use the live stat screen as it comes back into the thing, which means if you watch the WNBL game, the final, the scoreboard was like 2 minutes behind the action. Did anyone notice that? Yeah, so you've got to be careful with that one. So that's what those programs are all about. So, are we back yet? Cool. So that's what they look like. There are other solutions that you might be able to get your hands on. There are hardware solutions as well. Again, the prices on those really start to go up. So if you go to the NBL games and so on, and you watch you watch the television producers. They're using something which is called a TriCaster. They typically use that. They start at 15 or 16,000, probably out of our price range. Be nice to use, but they do that. But there are some other things that you can do. If you only want to do a single camera, you can do it for nothing. There's a program called, there are two programs. There's OBS, which is an open source program that will allow you to stream and to record and so on. And then there's another one which is rather old now, but is still free, called Adobe Flash Media Live Encoder, AFMLE. That will allow you to take a single camera to stream it and record it. The difficulty though when you record it is it will record as a flash media file, an FLV, all right? So, but it works, and then you can convert it into an MP4 later on and so on. So you can do it for nothing. But it's a single camera, and you can't do any overlays, you can't swap stuff, you can't, it's fairly limited. OBS is a little bit more functional, but it's also free, so you could look for those things. There are heaps of other ones out there, but they, again, start to get real expensive. Then you actually have to encode it. So we've captured it, but now we actually have to start thinking about pushing it out to where we want to go to. And all of these programs that I've talked about are switches, but they're also encoders as well. So within the program, it allows you to convert it into a signal that you can send out to YouTube and then allow YouTube to come back down again. So some people use YouTube Live, which is what you do along the way. So we start looking at those things there. And where we find that, if I just very quickly go into here, so where I would find the encoding stuff here is I would go, well, mouse gone, there it is. I would go into the stream button, come over here, I would set the whatever it is that I want to do up there, and then having done that, having done all of that, I would literally just go over here and go start. And having done that, if it turns red, it's actually telling us that we are now live on the internet. So we are actually streaming right this very minute. So that's put it into a format that we can go there as well. So, talking about YouTube, should we use it to stream? Well, certainly we're going to use it for the recorded content. That's called VOD, video on demand. We're going to use it for that. But what about streaming? Well, it has some advantages. And mainly, the first advantage is that it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Oh, where's it gone? There we go. But the disadvantage is that copyright stuff that I talked about before. If you've got some sound on your gear, what happens is that it processes it, and if it finds that you've got some copyright material, it will stop the stream in its tracks. Again, that's something that happened to Dandenong last season during the WNBL season, and also I think during one of the Seabrook finals. They actually lost their stream. So you've got to be very, very careful about it. If you're not having any sound, you don't have that as an issue. The other problem that you have is that they, by agreeing to their terms and conditions, which you have to do to get an account, you're actually saying that they are allowed to monetize your product. And if they find that you are advertising anything, like you might have a sponsor's bug on screen or something else like that, they retain the right to charge you for that advertising. And they set the advertising rates. You don't have any choice in it. Even though you might get nothing for putting the sponsor's logo up, they will actually charge you for it. So you've got to be very careful with YouTube if you're streaming live. It works really well though, along the way. The other difficulty with it is that you need really good data bandwidth. Yeah. on your internet connection. Yeah? Because it wants to have at least what they call 1 or 2 megabits per second upload. And that's something that we probably don't have in Australia in most environments. So I don't know what your... does anyone checked out what their internet connection is?
0.1 to 0.2 upload.
How much?
1 to 0.2 upload.
Megabits per second. 0.1.
0.1 to 0.2.
0.1 to 0.2.
I mean, there's not many that I've seen, unless it's NBN or something, you're not going to get over 1 on ADSL.
ADSL without XM, you should be getting up to 1.8, 1.6, 1.8. However, you'll most likely, if you're at the end of a run like we are here, you might get 0.8, 0.9, which is what you'll get. So you'll do that. So anyway, so that's a good one. There's another one called Ustream. IBM has just bought Ustream. Expect the prices to go through the roof. But that's actually one that a lot of people have used. However, to stream on Ustream starts at about $99 US a month. So it's fairly expensive. So the one that I use is an American, well actually it's a French company called Decast. And I actually use a plan which is about 120, it's 25 bucks US a month, but I think if you pay it in a year in advance, it's $19 US a month as well. And I find I have no problems with that one at all. The beauty of that is it's completely white box. I can put my own advertising up. I can put it all behind a paywall, so I can charge people to go and watch it. I can do all that sort of stuff. So you look for something like Decast along the way. But there are loads of these CDNs around the place, and there are actually some other free options as well. So a French competitor to YouTube is called Dailymotion, and you can actually stream for free to them. And they don't have the same kind of attitude towards copyright and stopping your stream, so that's all right. There's another one called Vaughan TV, or Vaughan. I think you go vaughan.tv, I can't remember exactly what it is. Again, that's a free one as well. And then if you've got kids that play games, they'll know all about Twitch. Twitch is the one that all the gamers use. So you may be able to do that. All the other ones start to be expensive. They're all paid options along the way. And that's if you want to stream. If you want somebody in Darwin to actually watch what the kids are. And how many of you guys have got imports? Yeah? Hey, if you've got imports, you've got an audience. You've got an audience. And you will pick up, I mean, how many of the people watched the finals? From the US, just from the US.
Oh, no, it was like that.
Yeah, but the Amber Heggy's parents watched. It was Nate's parents were there; they were watching. So there were quite a number of people who were actually watching online from outside of Australia and outside of Victoria as well. So we can start to look at those sort of things. How much bandwidth do you need? We just talked about all of that. And it's all going to depend, if you are going to stream, it's all going to depend on the quality you want to stream out at. Obviously, if you've got a large pipe, if you're lucky enough to have fibre in the thing, so Werribee, Jason Kelly was going to be here today, they've got fibre into their stadium and they don't have any issues. They can stream at broadcast quality quite happily there. However, if you're in Waverley, or Warrandyte, you may not be able to do that. So you've got to figure out how much you've got. And there are two things that you think of when you're thinking about it. The bit rate that you record at is going to affect it, and the frame rate and the resolution. The frame rate is how many frames per second, pictures per second are we actually seeing. Now, the standard frame rate here in Australia is 25 frames per second. However, for sport, you try and double that. You try and capture it at 50 frames per second. Okay, so that's what you're trying to do. And most of these cameras will output 50 frames per second in an interlaced format. Okay, so they'll do all of that. The problem though is that as you increase the frame rate, as you increase the resolution, so the amount of data that you send up increases as well. So you may actually think about sending out a 180p signal, a really small one, that's going to be great for mobile phones, but on a computer would look really terrible, or 55-inch television would look terrible. So you need to start thinking about all of those sort of things. So you look for that kind of stuff. And you can actually figure out how much data you need, how much bandwidth you need, and what you can get away with. So there are standard things there. So if you know, what did you say? You got 0.1? 0.1, then you can only broadcast standard definition. You can record high def, but you can only broadcast standard def. Well, hey, here's an interesting thing about live stats. The new live stats requirement is, from Sporting Pulse, is that you need at least a connection of 0.85 megabits, that's 850 kilobits per second up.
Well, it's going to be interesting.
For data. Don't ask me why. I have no idea why they need so much for what is a text file, but that's what the requirement on if you go and look at the live stats requirements is at the moment. Now, in order to stream to YouTube in high def, you need to be between 1 and 2 megabits per second. The advantage of doing that, though, is that YouTube will do the recording for you, and you don't have to do any other conversions. And it's immediately in your YouTube channel, and all you have to do is to put it into the playlist, the Big V 2016 playlist.
Can I just ask a question about
Yeah.
You mentioned before about copyright.
Yeah.
So if we've got a sponsor's sign on the wall in our stadium, is that potentially a copyright issue or an issue to do with where they're going to ask us?
No, they'll only pick it up if you've overlaid it on your screen. So if it's in the background,
signs in the stadium with sponsors, that's
yeah,
okay.
that's okay.
Is that more to do with the music that's playing during timeouts? Is that what they pick up?
That's the thing that they usually pick up, yeah. Yeah, so they will stop your stream if they pick it up. That's the main thing that they'll do. If they pick up a sponsor's logo on that you've overlaid, that you put over the top, like I put that scoreboard, then they retain the right. I haven't heard of them doing it yet, but they retain the right to charge you for advertising. Okay, so and this is a big issue with sportscasters all around the world. They're having issues with this along the way, and that just applies not only to your live streams but any videos you put up there too. So it's quite an issue. So again, if you need to think about that, now remember that your upload requirements includes both video and audio. So when you set your stuff, you might only want 1 megabit up. You might in video, but if you're also doing CD quality sound, you've got to add that on top. So it's now going up to 1.2 or 1 point whatever it is. So you've got to be careful with all of that. How do you know how fast your connection is? Well, good bit of advice. Every time you go to stream, before you stream, test your setup, test your stuff. So we simply go and use something which is called speedtest.net. Does everyone know that? Yep, okay. So, oops, wrong one.
Just while Andrew's talking about the internet stuff, I had NBN connected at my house, and it was only operating at a tenth of the speed I was actually paying for. I got in touch with a company called the Wi-Fi guy, and his background basically, he used a lot of the networking stuff in the military service overseas, and he came in, ended up costing about $1,000, but he did absolutely everything, and I'm now operating at the maximum speed. So I'm now getting the speeds that I'm paying Optus for, but he came out and fixed up bits and pieces and added like wireless access points. I don't need it at home, but like there's a guest login. So when you go to Macca's and you log in as a guest, similar thing. So like it could be at your stadium, you can have guest logins and everyone can access the Wi-Fi that way. It might slow it down, but the Wi-Fi guy definitely helped increase my internet speed by tenfold.
Yeah. So this is speedtest.net, and so you go and run this every time, because what it'll do is it'll tell you how fast you got, and you can see there it'll do a download test and it'll do an upload test. And whilst we've got a reasonable download speed, my upload is actually not too. Actually, that's not too bad today. It's been a lot worse than that. All right. Now the rule of thumb is you should never exceed 60% of your upload. 50% is even better. So because I've got that at 1.8, 1.2 roughly, I should not ever try and push any more than about 600 kilobits per second up. Otherwise, it will stop working.
Can you limit that though? Can you control how quickly it uploads? So
No.
Can you tell it not to stream faster than a particular speed?
Yes, all that software that I talked about, you can set your upload speed. Yeah. You can't set the live stats one though, unfortunately. So the issue I had at Dandenong was actually when the live stats were starting to upload, and that's when, if you're looking at the videos and you suddenly see it go jerky, and that's when we had issues. Actually, that was the stream. If you're watching the stream rather than that. So yeah, I can't. Where's my mouse gone? So if I get rid of that. So you've got to do that. The other thing is that understand that even though you're testing it, you might have a state, you put your cameras on, you check everything out, and it's all working fine. Once the game starts, as the movement goes there, it increases the amount of data, right? So the more action, the more movement you have on the screen, the more data it's actually creating. All right, so again, you've got to be aware of that. And maybe you need to throttle it back a little bit to cater for all of that. Yeah, all of those. So we've done our speed test, we've checked all of that. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. This is what you're suddenly going to find though, that the file you produce is too big. So this is where we hand it over to Lucas, and he's going to talk about how you go about compressing stuff and go from there. Do you want me to run your laptop?
Yeah. Show this part.
Just ding like Tinkerbell, okay?
Oh, sorry, no, I'll
You're right.
shit, I'll be able to run the laptop for you with this.
Yeah. You all right?
Yep. All right, so we're going to try to make it as quick as possible going through some of this stuff. What I have done is everything I'm going to show on the screen, I'll make that bigger for you. Everything I'm going to show on this screen is in the handouts that we've given you guys. And I've also put links to it all on the website. So if you head over to customvideoanalysisonline.com, I'm going to try to shorten that website, but don't stress. Big V links. So I've put in Big V links to everything we're going through. There's video tutorials on all of this. There's the documents, so there's slate documents which we've printed out for you. The playlists for each division. Handbrake presets, which we'll go through soon, and then the software downloads. The software that you don't have to use this, but we're trying to make things as easy as possible for the clubs, is usable for both Mac and PC. So you can use it on either. So first thing we'll look at is the game's already been recorded into your computer. As we were mentioning before, one of the issues that it creates, it might create 4 files, it might create 6, it just changes between cameras. What we need to do is, I've downloaded a program called MPEG Stream Clip, free as Handbrake is, MPEG Stream Clip. So it's at www.squared5.com. So as you can see on the, well, you might be able to see on the screen there, is you've got a Mac and a Windows version for that. As I was mentioning to some people before, I actually got recommended this program from Marcus Klusman, who's the assistant coach at the AIS. He put me onto it, works great. So they're using it up there. They have the resources to have better things, but this works just fine. Now, once downloaded, open MPEG stream clip, and to select the files you wish to combine, click Files, Open Files. Simple as that. So, once we're in MPEG stream clip here, this is what the program looks like. You can either drag the clip straight in, or File, Open Files. Now, as you can see here, so we've got individual files. Those all files, that was a game filled, a high res, etc. There's more files of them. If I just select all of those and go open, they automatically go in and they go in order. So you can see they're all numbered, so it goes in number order. And at the bottom here, I know they're all in there because it says that out is an hour 28. You might not be able to see it on the screen, but when you use it, you can see that. So straight away, you know all the files are there. If it says 30 minutes, well, something's gone wrong. From there, all we have to do is go File, Save As. Save the game as whatever you want it to be named as, and it takes, like the laptop I use is, for lack of better terms, pretty shitty and old, and it takes 5-10 minutes. And then the game's combined. So what I've done is, I'll close that now. As you can see, so I had all the individual files for that 1080 game. It's now just in one full game there, done. I don't have to worry about anything else in terms of combining the files. Does anyone have any questions on the MPEG stream clip side of stuff? You can compress using MPEG stream clip as well. So if you're computer savvy, you can play around with it. I've found that it takes a lot longer than Handbrake, and we couldn't export the settings, which means that everyone then has to adjust it every time they use it. All right, Handbrake. Again, it's a program I've come across. Again, it's free, Mac and PC. I haven't found anything that compares to it. Handbrake is available from handbrake.fr. Free to download, Mac PC. Generally, when you open Handbrake, it will automatically prompt you to select the file that you want to compress. If it doesn't automatically prompt you, okay. All right, so you can see it's automatically prompted me to go, it's gone to my documents to select a file to compress. So if I simply click 1080 full game and open. Now, as we've mentioned in the slate, and I apologise, some of the pictures are a bit hard to see, but again, it's the exact same thing that's on the website. You can then either add to queue, so as Andrew was saying, he did 8 games at a time. You can either click add to queue at the top, or you can just click start. Again, on this computer, it generally takes about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, but it can save you 10 times that in uploading, because it compresses the game down. Now, whilst we're on the Handbrake stuff, we've put the presets online. Sorry, we'll go back to... When you do it, when you're trying to work out where to save it, mine sometimes save, I have no idea where they've gone. All you need to do is simply click Browse, rename the file, put it where you want it to be saved. As simple as that. Alright, so as I mentioned, the Handbrake presets are online on the website on the Big V Links page. That means you guys don't have to worry about changing the settings each time. Have I compressed it too far? Does it look like my toaster's filmed it? Have I gone the other way too far and it's actually increased the size of the file? We've tried to take that work out of it for you, so it's simply already there. All you need to do is click on the link and download it. It takes you to a Dropbox page, download. Once it is downloaded, on some computers it does this, other computers it doesn't. It comes up with a .plist at the end. It comes up with a .text at the end. So you can see the file here has .plist. Sometimes it has dot text as well. Just delete the dot text out of the file and it will work fine.
So the file should be a .plist.
Yeah, .plist. To import that in Handbrake, simply go presets, import, and again, you just go to wherever the file's saved, imports, and as you can see on my, well, you might be able to see, I can't make Handbrake bigger, sorry. It's got over the side here, import Big V preferred. I click that and all the settings automatically happen. So like that work's taken out of it for you. As I mentioned with the audio before, if you're not commentating on it, I delete the audio because I just found last year, we uploaded all our games to YouTube last year, we just put on a private playlist so that everybody couldn't see and access them. It does reduce the file a little bit, which helps, but also it also means you don't have those issues with the copyright when you upload. Simply go to audio, track, and you can click remove all. I thought that would save when I did the actual the settings, but it doesn't. So you have to go into that, just remove all audio, and then it's done. You don't have those issues with YouTube then. All right. So as I said, you can set it up to record, to compress one game. You can set it up to compress 10 games in a row. It really doesn't matter. What you can see here is the Handbrake settings that we use. So if there's 1080 game, might not be able to see it. For whatever reason, the video camera used for that only recorded it at the maximum file size of only 11.38 gigabytes. Using the Big V preferred settings in Handbrake, it came down to 4.75. So it's about half. Same with the 720. So when 720 full game, it was 7.85. Came down about 2.37. The preferred is if it is 1080, just because it's better quality, it's a bigger image when we use it for our highlights, when we use it for our review, use it for our scouts, use it for NDU, all that sort of stuff. If it's simply not possible due to your internet, we've got 720 presets we'll upload as well. The purpose of that is it then saves you guys hours upon hours in terms of the upload time, because now you're not uploading 11, 12 gigs, 16 gigs, you're uploading 3, maybe 4. Again, it might take a little while depending on what internet you have and where you're located, but it's saving you that time. Anyone have any questions on the Handbrake side of stuff? No? Awesome. All right, how to create a YouTube channel. Obviously, now I actually tried creating YouTube channels for every club, and it got to a point where you're actually not allowed to do that. It got to a point where I got blocked from adding anymore. So, sorry, I couldn't do it for everybody. To create a YouTube channel, if you simply head over to youtube.com and click sign in, it'll take you to a page where you can start to do that. So I just went to Gmail, works the same if you go to YouTube. All right, so if I click sign in, it takes me back to that same page, right? So you can go to Gmail, YouTube, whatever. I've already got 4 accounts of different things, but if I click add account, create account, you enter all your details. Now again, I actually can't do it again because it would just say I've added too many accounts and I can't do it anymore. Once you enter all your details there, at the bottom of the screen you'll see simply go continue or next step, whatever it may be. Yeah, next step. YouTube account's pretty much created then. You can use you pick a Gmail address, so whatever it might be, warrendied@gmail.com, it really doesn't matter. You can use your name because we can change the name of the channel later. Once you have done that, you've entered the details. It'll actually come up with a screen, which I thought was in here, but oh, yeah, it is here, the next one down, wrong order. Name your channel. Simply name it after your club. So it comes up with that screen. So if you see it, we'll just name that one Big V Basketball, but you can name it whatever. So like I've created a channel within my custom video account, it's just Big V Games 2016. Still my name on the back end of stuff, into the details, but the channel itself is Big V Games 2016. To upload, oh sorry, no, I won't get to that just yet. Yeah, we will. To upload to YouTube, once you're logged in, Once you're logged in, you can simply click upload. You click that big upload arrow and you go to wherever your game's saved, you double click it, it enters, it goes in. So if we go to, we'll just import one file. All right, sweet. Sorry? Yeah, absolutely, you can do so. If you've got 4 teams, you can do 4. I'll get to a bit later where I did a breakdown of the under-16 European or EuroLeague final, European qualifier final, sorry, and so I uploaded like 100 videos at the same time. In here, and this is where it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be great if we can all be on the same page, and it's in that handout talking about what we name the file. Bit excited? If we all name the file the same way, it's going to make things a lot easier for us. So what we've tried to go is simply round. So round 1 dash division. Division 1 women, home team, Latrobe versus away team, Mildura. Then it makes life a lot easier for everyone to go back through and look for it. So like if you guys want to watch, or if coaches want to watch a game, it's not having to search through it for hours trying to find the right ones. Well, no, it was round 4 we want to watch, just go down to the round 4 ones. We know that Hawthorn at home, so we go to Hawthorn home team, and it's there. Makes life a lot easier for everybody. You have to name it something anyway. Takes 2 seconds, makes life easy for everybody else.
Yeah, the only restriction that you have here when you're doing it is that the actual title thing is limited to the number of characters. So you'll notice when I uploaded them to you, Brian did already, you'll notice that when I uploaded them, not only do I put big V, because on my channel I've got MNDL, I've got CVAO and all sorts of other things, but I've just used the state champ links, SCN, and so on. I took a bit of liberty with that because I know that if I left it, if I typed it all in, I wouldn't be able to put the whole name in. Okay, because there's a restriction on the number of characters you can put in that title field.
Yep.
So my suggestion, and I haven't run it past Big V yet,
you're all going to get told it.
We actually use the acronym for the comp rather than everything else.
Yep.
I hate typing it all.
At the end of the day, the competition part's not going to matter a whole lot, because once we put into divisional playlists, they're in their divisions anyway.
People will search for it.
Or if they search, but in the divisional playlist, that kind of helps rectify that. Now, I believe everyone got an email that had this PDF in it that came from us with the tutorials, the divisional playlist, etc., etc. If you haven't, come see me afterwards. We'll forward it on to you. Sorry?
Couldn't get the links to it.
Have you?
Couldn't access them.
Julie spoke to me about that. I'll resent it. Didn't work. We'll sort it out after.
What you might find is if you're using Edge, you might find some of the links don't work. So if you then go and try Chrome or Firefox, sometimes it'll browse. So try a different browser. You may find the links will actually work that way.
Now, when you click on, so it's either on that or, again, on that Big V links page here. If you click on any of those links, it takes you to that divisions playlist. Now, I'm not logged in as anything, and as soon as I actually should be right. Yeah, sweet. So the thing I've found is if you click anything other than continue in the blue box, it won't work the same. So if I click continue in that blue banner at the top, it'll automatically add State Champ Men to my library or to my list of playlists, which is on the side over here. Once you have, so if I click, this channel has no playlist, fantastic. This channel has no playlist, fantastic.
That little red line, did you see the red line go across the top?
Yeah.
You need to wait until it goes across before it's happening.
All right, the State Champ Women one's already done. So you click continue, it should go into your playlist. If it doesn't work for whatever reason, like it hasn't just then, we'll work it out. Hopefully when we click refresh, it will work. The game's uploaded. One of the questions that Big V had was, with this upload and have to put into the YouTube channel, it's uploading again, it's going to take too long. It doesn't. Once you've got that, once you've got the divisional playlist saved, you simply click on Add Videos. You can then click Your YouTube Videos, and you find your YouTube video, so let's just click that, Add Video, and it's in that playlist. So in State Champ Women, that defensive clip's straight away in there. So it takes 10 seconds, it's 3-4 clicks, it's in the playlist. Now it makes it a lot easier for everyone. Again, like the Youth League 2 women don't want to see the State Champ Men games and have to sort through the hundreds of games they're going to have for the year. That's sorted, it's there straight up. I can delete that, so you won't have to, if you State Champ, you won't have to look at that game anymore.
Is that unlimited storage? How many files can actually store on a YouTube channel?
Yeah, from what I understand, unlimited. I've looked into it, I don't believe there's a cap.
I've got close on 300, and I'm not even scratching the surface. Some people have got thousands.
Some people actually, their livelihood's made off YouTube videos, and so they're just uploading different things, whether it's cats doing stuff or whether it's people being basketball professionals and providing their opinion. People use it for livelihood stuff. All right. So we've been through. So that's putting the files into one. So merging them. That's compressing it. We're showing you how to create the channel, and I was being quick. We're showing you how to create the channel. We've then shown you how to upload it, which is relatively easy. Just click upload and find the channel, rename it. The thing that probably most of us, and I hadn't really experienced until I started looking into this, was how to put it into playlists. All those playlists are public, and everyone that has the link, you need the link, everyone that has the link can add videos to them. If you don't have the link, again, as I said, they're on the website, so you can go straight there and it's there for you to help.
It actually becomes even easier as you go to upload your file. You go into an edit page where you go and enter all the titles, and on the right-hand side, there's a little playlist drop down. So what you can do there is you can have your own club playlist. I've got one for Waverley Basketball Games, it's called. But you can, as you drop it down, you can select multiple playlists to continue your stuff into. So you don't have to, after you set yourself up in this, you don't have to go back into that last screen. So you do it all from that initial edit page. So it makes it very easy for you. So look on the right-hand side, and you'll see it down, sort of down the bottom of that little screen.
Just a couple of things which they're not must-do, have-to-do things, but they're guidelines, they're there to help everybody. Resolution, as we mentioned, minimum 720. If it's less than 720, it's worthless watching, but it's preferred to have 1080. We're going to have highlights of the round each round for a designated men's game and designated women's game. If it looks like it's, as I said, if it looks like it's been filmed with a toaster, we won't be able to do it because it doesn't look professional going up and it just becomes a laughing stock because it's amateur. How to record now. I've got there, try to avoid GoPro as a main camera because they don't zoom, similar to iPads, phones. If that's your sole thing for now, that's cool. But at least with your iPads or your phones, you can see what it's looking at. Unless you have one of the new GoPros or you have the LCD screen on the back, it's hard to see. We can't say you have to, but we strongly encourage you to record each game without stoppages, including the quarter time breaks. That is because, and something we'll speak about in a minute in terms of the live stats video file that's exported, we use that to then create the highlight clips. If it's paused at half time, the way we sync it, we then have to do it again for the second half as well, so it doubles our work with that stuff. Stiff shit for me maybe, but it makes my life a lot easier, and all it means is you don't have to push the record button twice more during the game. Zoom in the video, and this is something that was brought up briefly before. General rule of thumb, as a coach, when you're watching the video, try to ensure the scoreboard is always within the frame. I know it's not always possible, but if it is within the frame, it helps. Because you can see what the score is, you can see what the time is. If you're looking back on it and it's like, well, I've no idea how long was left on that shot clock, but they'll jack that up. Yeah, if they shoot up with 1 second left, and it's a contested 3 from 3 metres out, we can live with it. If it's 23 seconds left, we probably can't. And most of the half court.
Yeah, so that's,
If you're doing that stuff, yeah.
so if you've got a switcher, like the stuff I've shown you, you can actually have multiple cameras, and this is what we're setting up here and on the system right now. You can have multiple cameras, in general, I'll have one on the shot clock, which is another one on the shot clock, and also he brings it directly from the source system. So you see that. So it is really handy to do it, but you need multiple cameras to do it on one.
All right, just going to go through, like I said, about the custom video analysis online, I guess what we actually do and how we work. So what we're doing this year, like, as I mentioned, as I was looking into stuff, there just wasn't anything in Australia. There wasn't anything that kind of was less than $2,000 a year, whether you bought stuff yourself or paid someone else to do it. So that's where we kind of generated from. So game review and scouts. They start, there's brochures at the back. So grab one of those. They have my contact details, email, phone number and stuff on it as well. So grab one of those on the way out if you don't already have them. Starting at about 24 a game if you buy it, depending on how many games you buy. So you can buy single games, you can buy 40. It's up to you, but obviously the more you buy, the cheaper it's going to get. For myself as a coach, we use game reviews, so we actually show the athletes what they've done well, what they haven't done well. So if we just keep telling them, mate, you keep doing this wrong, they just don't believe you because they think they're doing the right thing, so obviously doing it every week. We show them, and it just helps with that learning. Similar thing with the scout. That's one element. Another element is the highlight packages, and this is one of the things we're working with Big V on, is we're going to have highlight packages per round. So a men's game of the round, a women's game of the round. We'll then do highlights for the All-Star game. In the middle of the year, we'll also do highlights for all of the Grand Final series and highlights for All-Star 5s and MVPs we played on the presentation night. So again, that's where it comes back to those video files being important because it helps us do that. We'll talk about the video files in a minute and how to get it out at Live Stats. And the other thing we do is just video promotions. So, not sure if anybody saw it. We did one for Southern Penn's women's team. I coach at Southern Penn, so it just made it easy for me to do that. We just did a promo for the start of the year. So it was a 4 or 5 minute video. It's had something like 10,000 views just on my page. I don't know how many it's had on Southern Penn's page. Price on that just depends on what you want, how long it's going to last, all that sort of stuff as well. So they're really the 3 areas we focus on in terms of what we provide. Why us but? Sweet, now, as I mentioned, you can get one game. So you can get one game done, sorted. You don't have to worry about that long-term lock-in contract where it's cost the club $2,000 US. So this week it might be great, but if you had bought it 2 weeks ago, you're paying $3,500 for it. At this stage, I want to promise promise less, deliver more. Yeah, so if we promise 48 hours and we can get it back to you in 12, great for you. If we promise 12 and can't get it done in that time, well, we haven't delivered on what we've said we're going to do. That should be achievable, and I'm 100% confident we can do it. If it's not done, you guys just get the video for free. Like, you haven't got the service you've paid for, sorted. Obviously, increasing productivity, so that's for the coaching side of things. You don't have to worry about sitting through each game and watching it for the review or the scout. We can do it for you. So you can spend more time or the coach can spend more time about the practice plans, list management, that sort of stuff. Because we're using YouTube and we've also got downloadable links, you can view it on all platforms. You don't have to download apps, you don't have to worry about it. Samsung, iPad, Microsoft have their own things now. It can be viewed on all platforms. Makes life a lot easier for everyone and for the sharing of it. Multiple package options we spoke about. We're local, like I'm here right now. Huddle aren't, Crossover aren't, Synergy Sports Tech aren't. Your footage is easy access and viewed. So as I said, YouTube, and we'll do it when you get a review or scout, it's done in a private playlist. So you can only see if you have the link, which we'll show you in a minute. But we'll also send you download links. So some people might just go through and go, clip number this, clip number that, guys go watch it. Some people might want to download it and actually put together their own review and scout presentation for the team. That's where this comes in. Your videos will be single file as well as individual. And you can choose your own tags. That's our name, custom video analysis. With the other places, with the other international businesses, it's you get given what they do. Some of them have a lot of it, some of them don't have a whole lot, but you get given what they choose. If you want to see that a team's running full court press a lot, well, we can just show you every time they've run the full court press. If they run a lot of zone, we can show that. If they're a pick and roll team, we can show that. But then if you want to see every time they run a pick and pop, we'll do that as well. So you guys can choose. The more tags you choose, the more expensive it gets though. Takes more time. All right, so how we work. Kind of already been through this. You upload your games. You can either upload your game to YouTube, which we're all doing, or on the website there's a video uploads tab. And that just sends me a download link to download the game when it works. All right, when you upload the game, or so because we're using YouTube, if you've uploaded to YouTube and then there's a game you want scouted or reviewed, send us an email, tell us what you want seen, then we can get to work on it. Obviously, if Hume City's state champ women want to see Ringwood's game, but it's not uploaded yet, we're not starting that 48 hours till it's uploaded. The cut-off date, or the latest, it's been my belief is it's Wednesday 5 PM is when they have to be uploaded by. That's a long time. We get to work on a desk just like that and get the video done. And then, as I said, once it's done, we'll send it back to YouTube and download links. Now, all right, so we did the European final, so this is qualification for the Worlds. Scores for, now you might not be able to see it there, but that first clip's 4 minutes 49. That's got all of the scores within it. So if a coach wants to sit down and just watch all the scores all at once, great, it's there. If they don't, they can watch each one individually. They automatically have a number generated with them. So again, coach can say, all right guys, you need to watch 161, 152, 119, done. Or you can download them with the links we provide and you can show them that way as well. The playlist is private. Playlist is private, only those with the link can see it. So when you download it, so again we use that File Mail app, which is on our website. It sends you links to download this, the footage. That then again comes through, so that's all the turnovers in one file. But if we go into here, that's all the turnovers in the individual files. So again, you can watch them all at once, or you just know, coach knows that 73, 236 and 242 are the ones I want to show. Put those in the iMovie, Movie Make, whatever it is, trim them down, make them look pretty, whatever the coach wants to do with it. That part of the presentation is done, it's ready to go. So it puts that freedom back with them to be able to choose what they want to see and show them with that. Does anyone have any questions on that stuff? I know I've kind of gone really quickly through every part of how to do stuff and what we do, but I was conscious of time and it's night and people want to go home. If you have any questions you don't want to ask in front of people, I'm happy to hang around. If you do want to ask in front of people, by all means go for it. There's more of those up the back, so if you didn't get the slate handouts, again, I appreciate the video, other photos might not be great quality, but feel free to grab those. Please grab a brochure because it has all the information as well as contact details.
So all of this is mainly only for going live, or is this for live streaming?
No, so the stuff Andrew spoke about at the start was about live streaming, how to do that.
Do we have to go live stream?
No, as long as the game's up by 5 PM on Wednesday, that's all that matters.
Okay. So if we're currently filming and we're using none of this equipment and way cheaper than all this, but we have it on YouTube and we just upload it. We can just
Put in that playlist.
We just put it in our own playlist.
Yeah, put it in the divisional playlist because part of the we actually go through and we'll check all the games each round they're in there. We'll tick them off when they're done, and then we let Big V know that they're there or who hasn't done it yet, and they can contact and work it out. So one thing I didn't mention was the video file from Live Stats. It's really easy. It's about 180 kilobytes, so like it's tiny. Carry pictures could take it. You simply go File, Export, and there's a video file right there. It comes out as a text document. I won't worry about showing you because it's just mumbo jumbo. I can't make sense of it. But I know when I put it into my programs, then it gives me the stuff we need for the highlight stuff.
So you need a dump of the live stats.
Yeah. File, export, or file, save as in video file. Save that and you email that through to Big V and myself, and we're good to go from there. So again, we'll be ticking off on the clubs that have been providing that stream. That was a text document, I think, that used to
How many of
be.
you guys look after the stats guys? Yeah? So what you need to do is talk to the stats coordinator. There's a requirement at the end of each game. They have to send what's called an export file, an exe file out to Steve. But you also need to get them to do the video file at the same time. So there are two things they have to export and attach to an email and send off. So the stats guys have to have an extra task this season.
So it just comes out as a .xml file, and like I said, it's not going to make much sense, but that's literally what it looks like. So like, I'm not going to try to make sense of that. I hope you guys aren't either, but I know that it gives us the data we need for it to work in our programs. Yeah, so I stole it back.
Just a quick general question for everybody.
Yeah, mate.
People have gone through this process now, and you give me a rough idea of how long it's taken you, how much time, how much effort, etc. to do this. We haven't done it. So therefore, next week we're going to have a number of home games. We'll need to. I just want to know that some ball doesn't sit sitting there at 5 p.m. Wednesday after spending 72 hours away trying to do compression videos, uploading videos, given the fact that we will unfortunately don't have any energy.
Yes, and that's a thing we're well aware of, that the internet in Australia sucks. It's simple as that. Once you get used to the MPEG stream clip, like I said, you get the files in save as. Handbrake, once you get used to it, of just clicking on the settings and exporting, that can take an hour and a half, but you don't have to sit there and watch it. I know then use your computer, but you can let it happen. Again, once you click upload into YouTube, it takes a bit of time, but you don't have to sit and watch it. So it can be stressful to start with, but I'm sure that a couple of rounds in, we should get the feel for it.
Yeah, look, the reality is that very few people are doing it now. I'm probably one of the few that's doing it, Ron's another one and so on. But it does save you time in the long run. It does save you time. And the players love it. In fact, the interesting thing was that the players would email me or Facebook message me if the game wasn't up by Monday.
Lift your game, mate.
And I'd say, where's the game? What's going on?
Yeah, mate.
And we're coaches. You know where you get the biggest pushback? It's not from the players, it's actually the coaches. Or we better not show the opposition what we do. And all of a sudden you find that the players then are saying to the coaches, I want to see what I did, I want to see what I got wrong. Because traditionally the only people who got those DVDs and we all went out and did was the coach. And they never handed it out.
If any of our coaches get tech fouled, I'll make sure the video is
As long as the opposition coach, mate.
That's very true, because I reported last season, I uploaded to Google G Drive.
Yeah.
And same thing here, but I'm just curious, I shrunk the files down to probably about 1.2 gig, which is probably lower than what you're saying. That took quite a while to upload. You're suggesting, I guess, around 2 gigs, with, taking into account frames per second, all that sort of stuff.
For the 720 file, it came down to about 2.5. For the 1080, it's a bit bigger.
Take close to a day at the upload rates.
So that's...
Anyway, I'm not close to the exchange, but is there a mechanism, look, I'll find out myself, but is there a mechanism, like recently there's a download process on Google Drive, which I imagine is similar to YouTube. If it stops halfway, is there something you can pick up a partial?
Yeah, YouTube.
Because I can imagine that being an issue for some.
Yeah, no, YouTube's actually not too bad. It actually, if you have a broken upload, you can pause it and then you can resume it and so on. So that's actually not too bad. The bandwidth is the issue. Now, the suggestion there is that if you have really poor connection speed yourself, try and go use the local school. So you'll often find Mac is one way to do it. But if you've got a teacher, that's part of your club, leverage that, particularly out in the country and so on. What's even better is the Bendigo Telco. Bendigo Telco is actually pushing quite aggressively into different country towns around the place, and they're actually rolling out a lot of NBN and fibre connections. So Shepparton Stadium has just been upgraded to fibre, for instance. So you'll find that increasingly, much more so here. Listen, we're 10 years away from NBN here. Okay, so that's what they're saying, about 10 years in Chancellor, all right? If you live out in the country, in Casey and so on, you're probably more likely to get there. But
It's not country, it's city still.
it's,
With the school thing, so I taught last year, I didn't compress the files. I took the file to school on a Monday, and the full file size uploaded within about an hour and a half. So yeah, I'd put the feelers out a bit if your internet's struggling, and just see who around the club can maybe help with that. I know it's another volunteer, but
Stick it on a memory stick and give it to us.
yeah.
Lucas, just a quick thing.
Yeah,
I think
mate.
it was you that I was emailing with. I mentioned to you that I've got a JVC camera
Mm-hmm.
that creates 2 files. It creates an MPEG 2 file. So Handbrake doesn't actually understand JVC files. So if your JVC
well,
camera...
I'm really pleased that you mentioned that, because there are some other options. Hey, listen, a couple of things I want to point out. Back up, and back up. Right? Always make certain that you've got another copy of your file somewhere. Okay? Believe me, Michelle will tell you all the mistakes that I've made where I've forgotten to press record or haven't done something. So we always now, not only do we record directly onto the computer, but we also at the same time turn the camera on. So we've always got a record on the camera as well as a record on the thing. And again, I think that's what you do too, isn't it? So always back it up. In terms of other stuff, we talked about Handbrake, but there's another program that you might like to look at as well, which is called Format Factory. It's actually easier to use than Handbrake. Unfortunately, it doesn't have all the presets already done for you. There are presets in there, but it will convert from anything to anything. Okay?
Was it you that I was emailing with, or Lucas? I can't remember. So what did you suggest to me, Lucas? I've got it working.
Oh, I honestly don't remember.
You can't remember? MPEG 2.
Yeah.
Did you maybe try MPEG Stream Clip? Because on MPEG Stream Clip, the thing we use to merge the files, you can save it as other files out of it, but it just takes some time because it's free, so you can't expect the world from it.
Takes a fair bit of time. It's about 2.5 hours to convert it into MP4.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah. I remember that conversation now.
So we actually did some FAQs because we thought, well, there's going to be a whole heap of things that people have got are going to ask. So let's see how we go. Can I record on the computer and transfer? Yeah, absolutely. You can do all those sort of things. So we've talked about all of those things. And this was, I don't know who asked this one. There's other, so we'll talk about that. How cheaply can you do it? I've shown you that you can spend a lot of money. You can spend a lot of money, but you don't have to. You really don't have to. You can get away, literally, probably under $3,000 if you're setting it up from scratch.
That's for the live streaming.
Well, that's live streaming and even just encoding it onto your computer. Even without the you do want to do that. You want to try and get it onto the computer if you can, because it gives you all sorts of options. It's less painful than having to go and convert it across and so on. So you may already have a lot of that equipment there. So you might have a recent laptop or a recent desktop, you may have a camera, you may have all those things. So it doesn't have to cost you all that much. You can do it for under $3,000, and then the price, then you can spend as much as you want to. Can I use an older computer? As I said to you, the issue you have there is that it will take a day to compress the file. Alright, I was doing some stuff, compressing some stuff at work today, and I was using some old Duo core machines. And it took me about 5 or 6 hours to compress the file. Simply because the old technology won't do it, so modern technology will do it. What about Mac people? Any of you Macs? Yeah, you really like Macs, but you want to use a Windows program on there. Can I do it? Yeah. You can actually dual boot your machines and have a Mac running Windows, and it works really, really well. So use something like Boot Camp. So you can actually do that. The beauty is that if you do that, the Thunderbolt ports and all the other things that you see on the Macs actually are seen by the Windows side as well. So that works really well. What do we do? What if we've only got wireless? Is that okay? We'll say, well, here we've actually got wired connections, but we've got wireless as well. Can we actually use that? They have to if they're doing it at State Basketball Centre, for instance. The answer to that is yes, but. Yes, but. problem that you have is that if everybody knows your Wi-Fi connection, you've got lots of people joining on there, even though you might have a really good connection going out to the internet, you can jam up your wireless network. Alright? So you've got to make sure that other people aren't using the wireless at the same time. And that applies when you're uploading your files to YouTube. Because what you'll find is if you max out your upload speed, no one else on the network can operate. Okay? Everything goes really slow. And you may have seen that happen and wondered, why is everything slow? Because somebody is uploading something.
Yes.
Yeah? Oh, yes. No,
It took about 3 days.
it took about 3 days and people weren't happy.
So my husband wasn't.
What about mobile networks? What about if you've got, these things? Or dongles or whatever? Yeah. In actual fact, you'll get really good upload speeds on those. Now, if you're live streaming, you can use these things.
It's cost you $800 a month.
You can limit it to, you can limit the amount of bandwidth you're pushing up there, and it's actually not too costly. But if you're pushing up a 2 gig file or a 4 gig file, it becomes very expensive. But it's an option that you could use. If you can't do anything else, that may be the way you go. Get a prepaid data plan, and get the club to pay for that. Don't pay for it. There you go. One thing that you may find, and this is a really important one, sometimes when you go and look at your footage on your computer or on the TV, what you'll see is a lot of little horizontal jaggy lines on there. Particularly when people start running. This is called this is an interlacing problem. Because what a lot of the cameras do is that they produce the output in what's called an interlaced format, 50i or 25i or whatever. What you need to do is when you're using Handbrake or using any of the other tools that you're using or using any of those live stream things, you must de-interlace it to get rid of those things there. So you can see lots of little jaggy things going across the screen. Okay, you turn on de-interlacing in your program. So if anyone uses DLC, does anyone use that program? There's an option in there to turn de-interlacing on, and you'll see it. So try that with a movie at home. Turn it off, you'll see how it looks jaggy. Turn it on and it'll go smooth. And that's how you learn to recognise it. So that's really good there. The game's taken too long. We talked about all of that stuff there. Hard, didn't it? Didn't I hear someone ask this question? Isn't there a lot of effort? Isn't there an easier, quicker way? Yeah, look, it is at first. But over time, as you get used to it, take it after 4 years of experience, it becomes like second nature. You get into a routine, you know what you're doing. And the benefits are really big. Whether you're live streaming, whether you're just uploading the footage and so on, the benefit to your pub is really, really huge over time. Can I compress it further? Well, there's a really interesting thing. We can scramble it down, but unfortunately, the more you compress it, the way compression works is they take data out of the file. So that's literally what we're doing. They're squeezing it up as much as they can to then taking data out. So the more you compress it, the fuzzier it will get. Okay, so you've got to balance it out. Balance it out between the upload requirements and so on. And final thing, do I have a deal for you? Well, Lucas has already talked about his business, but in setting up for this, I actually contacted the manufacturer of Phoenix, which is an Australian company. They operate out of the Gold Coast, and I said, "This is what we're doing." He said, "Hey, I'm going to give you some licenses at a discount." So I have a very limited number of Phoenix HD licenses, which are normally $490 that I can let people have if you're interested at $390 off. Okay, so if you want that, it's time limited. It's time limited, so you'll be there for about a month or 2 months, and then after that, unfortunately, I have to give the licenses back. If I haven't sold them, I have to give them back to them. All right. But there's a great way for you to start the process here. And again, you don't have to live stream. The answer to the question was, do I have to live stream? No, you don't. No, you don't. However, having said that, I'd encourage you to look at it. I really would encourage you as a club to look at it, because guess what? It increases your gate. The experience that we've had here is that our audience, our in-stadium audience, has been going up. We have been getting, our business case was to get a 10% uplift in audience. We're getting an average of 40% additional people. So that's, if there's 100 people in the stadium, we're getting 40 people watching online. That's a big uplift, which means a lot to your sponsors. Okay? It means a lot to your club if you can actually lift that audience rate. And it becomes a permanent record because we're uploading it to YouTube. And the numbers on YouTube, I'm up to around 35,000, not as good as him, but about 35 views on my channel at the moment. So I'm getting on average 100 to 200 views per video that I stick up there. So you do that. They do. If you want to see some really good marketing, social media marketing and stuff, have a look at what Waverley is doing. They do a fantastic job. So you get there. But again, if you're interested in doing any of this stuff, I can help out there. And I'm more than happy to help out at any point in time. Just give me a call, send me an email, and I'm happy to help you out with any questions or any issues. We said 9 o'clock, it's there at 9 o'clock. So feel free to stay and ask more questions. Please go and play, have a look, do all those sort of things. Michelle will help answer any questions if you've got